Let's call this meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Well, thank you all for coming. It's not often that we see such happy, smiley faces all in city council chambers, and we do appreciate it. Do we have any resident? Let's go back one step.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second and some beautiful music going to approve the agenda. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Now to number. Do we have any resident comments and or questions other than how did Marv Grimm get so beautiful? I told you I wouldn't embarrass you. Let's hop right in. We do have some community service awards, which I think a lot of people here. Oh, hi, Courtney. Council member-elect Courtney Johnson. We have some really cool awards to give out tonight. And the first award is for our youth award, and it goes to Funky Minds. And I'm going to hand this out, and I want Anna Edlin gets all the headlines. So I want Shelley Rudolph to come on up, because Shelley is absolutely tremendous, and we're going to have the whole council come around and take a picture. I need this with me. Come on in. Come on in. Anna, where's Anna? Anna, oh, you know what? We need your picture up here after we're done with Shelley, though. Funky Minds does such a tremendous job, and I think everybody in this room understands the who and the what of what Funky Minds is. I came over here.
I was primarily back office for the parade, so first year.
Introduce yourself and tell us what you did with the Stego Days committee.
My dog just got it. Well, chair, co-chair,
Did all the chairs?
yeah,
Did you move chairs?
a few times.
It was Laura. What's your last name?
Nishi,
And There's a microphone here if you'd like to say a few words. I'm good. Okay, all right. You can sit down. Thank you. And you know, for the people that were here for the awards, honestly, I want to bring up Mary Hirschberger-Thune. Come on up. Mary represents WeCab. Come on up and, have a seat. And then as soon as Mary is done, everybody can leave. Well, I'm not telling you have to, but then we just get into the nitty-gritty of a city council meeting, and I know that you guys have some celebrating to do. At Eric Rudolph's house, right on the corner. Have at her, Mary.
Have at it. You know what? If I ever need a mental boost, I'm coming to a Carver City Council meeting.
We're here.
I mean, I've been to a lot of council meetings, including a number of my own, and I'm coming here.
And Mary used to be
fun.
Mary's a former mayor of the city of Victoria.
So thank you. I'll try and make my presentation at least somewhat entertaining, although it probably won't be as good as all the awards, which are really, really neat. It's a great tradition that you guys have. But I am here to talk about WeCab, and I was here about a year or so ago talking about WeCab and have had interest sessions or open houses over here. But tonight I'm kind of reporting on what we've been doing. We brought WeCab into Carver County in 2014, so we're going to be starting in October of 2014. So I'm going to bore you with a few statistics just to tell you what we've been doing in the county and around your area. So first of all, just in Carver County, one-way rides, 775. Total organization, 9104. Unduplicated registered riders, those are people who are actually using the program, 105 in the total organization, 521. Volunteer registered drivers, 34 in Carver County. That's a lot of drivers in Carver County.
That's great.
In the total organization, 53. Now here comes the big number. Volunteer miles driven in Carver County, 10,230. In the total organization, since the organization started in October of 2011, 106,672 miles we have driven for people who do not have transportation. The driver volunteer hours, 595 in Carver County. Total WeCab organization, 6,204. And other volunteers, people like me or other people working in the office, 16 of us. Total organization, 32. So we've been having a great impact, and every day we're seeing more and more riders and volunteers register to work with WeCab. I'm here for a couple reasons tonight. First of all, to bring you up to speed, but also to bring you some of our new brochures, which we have changed the requested donation. I think, as you know, WeCab is a volunteer group that provides rides to people who do not have transportation. It's a supplemental organization. In other words, we don't try and take the place of cabs or, in fact, we advertise Southwest Transit, and we're supported by Southwest Transit or Dial-A-Ride or any of those. We're supplemental for people who really need a little more personalized service or just have different kinds of schedules. We work really 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, if a driver picks up a ride. And so we asked for a donation, and what we decided to do was do the same request for donation that SmartLink does, which means 1 to 10 miles, one way, $250. So if you were going to go from Carver down to Victoria and get your hair done or have a meal or just go down there to see it.
I go to Victoria to get my hair done.
Good.
Okay.
And I come here, as you know, to get my tea. So, it's kind of, So it would cost Mike $5 to use WeCab if he's going down to Victoria when he gets his hair done. 10 to 20 miles, $5, 20 to 30 miles, $7.50, over 30, $10. So it's really a good service, and it's affordable. We do not deny rides to anyone who cannot afford to contribute. We send out an invoice each month, but if we send an invoice and we don't receive any dollars, that's fine. We continue to take them. One of the things that I think is a surprise to everyone in Carver County is that we have people who really do need transportation. I'm not sure if you know, but we have people in Carver County that don't have cars, they can't drive, they don't have checking accounts. They try and pay us in cash, and sometimes they send cash through the mail because they don't have an account. We have some domestic abuse people who we make sure that we never reveal for any of our clients, but we never reveal this particular person's address, and so forth and so forth and so forth. This week, we're holding interest sessions or open houses throughout the county. We did Chanhassen today. We're going to do one in Victoria and one in Chaska. And so I would encourage anybody who's listening to this or hears about WeCab, I'm going to leave these for you to either put up or hand out, whatever, to really consider using WeCab. And I think, if I read the newspaper correctly, you have a couple council members who are going to be retiring at the end of the year. Is it 2, 3? 2. Okay. So I have a really, really, really heart-fulfilling position for you. And so if you are interested, I would love to talk to you more about being a driver or a dispatcher. It's a great program, and it's supported by a number of cities, including Carver. And I hope that you will consider supporting it this upcoming year. We really, really appreciate your donating it toward us last year. And we use the funds for computer program, technology. You know, we do have a small office that right now we don't have any staff in. We all volunteer. But we are going to try and hire a part-time person, because with these kinds of statistics, it's getting pretty hard to run it just on volunteers. So with that, I'm going to not say any more in case you might have a few questions. And any questions?
I've seen it in work, and we've supported both from the city standpoint as well as my business, and I think you guys do a great job.
Thank you.
It's appreciated, and it's the type of service, and I'm also on the board at Southwest Transit, and the partnership and the difference and the need that you at WeCab fulfill is exactly what we need, which is why we are a supporter.
Yeah, well, thank you so much, and if you choose to support it in the upcoming year, we'd really be really happy. We judiciously protect our funds in Carver County, and I am serious about you guys who are retiring. You can just call this number and ask for Mary, and I bet they'll know who I am. Thank you so much, and I do want to wish all of you a very, very Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and a great holiday season, and thank you for letting me take up some of your time tonight.
Take care.
Mary, thanks for the update.
Arlen, get out of here. Yeah. What's happening, brother? You know, we're about to talk about taxes. If anybody wants to talk about taxes. All right. Attaboy. Yeah. Thank you, guys. Have a great night. Susie Q, have a great night. Cowboy. We're going to have to wait till this calms down just a little bit, so please be patient.
All right. I know. See ya. Wow.
All right, let's move on now to item number 6.1, our truth in taxation. Mr. Merrick.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the City Council. Tonight is our annual Truth in Taxation public hearing, which is essentially the culmination of several months, actually beginning in May, of a budget process going forward to 2017. So what is Truth in Taxation? It's essentially a process designed to get residents out and informed about the city's budget and levy process. So all the cities throughout the state, including counties and school districts, actually also participate in the Truth in Taxation process. And kind of how it's kicked off as far as a formal public process is each property owner in the state gets a truth in taxation statement, and so we have a copy of one here on the screen and in your packets. The key number to look at is the taxable market value, which is outlined in red, and that's the number that's used to determine in a formula what the specific property taxes are for that property. So you can see the top line is the estimated market value, so that's the price that the assessor has put on, or the county assessor has put on your home. There's also the market value, the homestead exclusion, which is a number that's through state legislation taken down to basically serve as a subsidy to help residents pay their property taxes, and then the taxable market value is actually the number that's used within the calculation to determine the tax. Typically, when people look at that number, they'll find maybe a concern or a question that they might have related to their value, and so we direct those folks to contact Angela Johnson, who's the Carver County Assessor. You can see her phone number and email on the screen. The second piece, kind of the guts of the truth in taxation statement, gets into all the jurisdictions within our taxing district. So Carver County, City of Carver, Eastern Carver County Schools, including voter-approved levies, the Metro Special Taxing District, as well as other taxing districts. Other taxing districts could include a local watershed, metropolitan council, etc. Each of these areas, city, county, school district, and metropolitan council have their own what amounts to be a truth in taxation public hearing. Ours is listed as this evening, but you can see on the screen the county had theirs December 1st, the school district has theirs on December 12th. Typically, folks might look to the bottom line. In this instance, there's a $3,500 and change property tax bill, but it's a lot like getting your electric, gas, and cable bill all on one bill. Each of these cities, or in the example, utilities, is responsible for their own tax or fees to run that service. And so the city of Carver is no different in that example, where you can see the actual of 2016, which was $1,131, and then the proposed, which was based on the preliminary levy that the city council set in September at $1,142. So before we get into the actual 2017 budget, just wanted to generally go over the two primary functions of the city business. One is the general government, or what we often refer to as the general fund. The second is the utilities or enterprise funds, and the utilities or enterprise funds are made up of our water fund, sanitary sewer fund, and storm sewer fund. So the general fund, primary revenue sources are state aid fees and permits, so that'd be liquor licenses or building permits, property taxes, which make up about 80% of the general fund revenue, and that specifically goes to pay for administration, snow plowing, building inspections, legal planning, etc., park maintenance. One of the things that I believe is confusing is when you look at our enterprise fund, so the monthly utility bill that you pay for water, sanitary, sewer, and storm. Sometimes the question is, don't I pay this for my property taxes? And really, the enterprise funds, the water, sanitary, sewer, and stormwater, are really their own business, and we keep track of those in separate funds. And so your monthly utility bill, connection fees that are paid at the time of development, all go to fund the operations of the water, sanitary, and stormwater funds. So strategic initiatives, this was a big piece that was developed by the City Council and is looked at on an ongoing basis, but in identifying initiatives for 2017, looking at the strategic initiatives identified in the city's strategic plan and goal-setting sessions, and looking how each of these expenditures and revenue sources are compatible with which all these initiatives. So going to the budget schedule, this is the City Council's kind of portion. The city staff actually starts on this at the end of May, early June, working toward a kind of a first draft in July, and then continually going over drafts till we're at a point in mid-August where we can present a first draft of the general fund to the City Council. As you can see on the screen, there's been several drafts of the general fund, including drafts of enterprise fund budgets, and we've also gone through the city's financial plan looking at upcoming expenditures and capital projects that'll impact the budget and levy in the upcoming years, arriving to tonight, where we're having the truth and taxation hearing, and then later on in the agenda, consideration of the 2017 budget and levy. So the revenue overview for the general fund, we're anticipating 50 housing starts. We feel like that's a pretty conservative number based on some concept plans that we're just getting in late in the fall. We feel like that number will be quite a bit low, but just based on our past practices for projecting revenues, we feel pretty confident about the 50 housing starts. Local government aid is frozen for 2016. We anticipate that there might be a change just because levels were proposed to go up during the last legislative session, and there's some indication that those levels might be implemented into 2017 during the upcoming legislative session. One of the other items that we received in 2016 was Small Cities Assistant Count funding, which helped with the improvement project at County Road 11 and 6th Street, helped with the turn lanes, and also helped with mill and overlay projects on Carver Bluffs Parkway and 6th Street West. That was around $40,000. That's not included in your 2017 budget, but we are hopeful that in the upcoming legislative session, that will again become a part of their legislation and then potentially be used for another street project in 2017. We are expecting revenue from our rural fire contracts to go down just based on the formula. The council approved those contracts at your last meeting. It's based on population and calls for service, and as our growth continues, our relative piece of the pie will go up as it relates to paying for fire services. Excuse me. We also have within the revenue source $25,000 from the Special Capital Project Fund that the City Council created earlier in the year, and that's going to fund partially, and we're still going to be going out for proposals jointly with the county, 1 year of probably about a 3-year payment schedule to fund a corridor study for Jonathan Carver Parkway or County Road 11. So a breakdown of revenues through a pie chart. Again, property taxes, it's typically been fluctuating between 80 and 85% for the last several years. So our revenue sources have remained pretty static. One of the things that I believe the council discussed at your last work session, or one of your last work sessions, is something that makes Carver unique is the absence of franchise fees in the community. If you look at other pie charts for our neighboring communities, and frankly a lot of communities around the state, you'll see the insertion of franchise fees as a portion of their revenues for their general fund. And I think that is a distinguishable feature in Carver, in that there are no franchise fees, and essentially the revenues that are needed are collected via property taxes and user fees. Debt service. You can see that our debt service is fairly consistent from last year. We have some increases. Our 2013 project, the 4th Street reconstruction, the power line burial project, and then the CASA 11 trail, the debt service went up by approximately $25,000. You also note that the Levi Griffin Road project, we don't have any debt service on that project. If we're unable to have any additional development happen along that corridor, by approximately 2021, we'll have about $106,000 levy that we'll have to account for and budget for in that budget year. But again, our total debt service levy is around $510,000. Again, our breakdown of expenditures by percentage, public services at nearly a quarter of our expenditures, which is a fairly significant department in the city when you think about parks maintenance, street maintenance, snow plowing, all the staff that we need to provide that service, and then debt service, then followed by administration and fire department, and then at the tail end, recreation at 2%. And again, if there's any questions throughout the presentation that the council has, happy to answer any. So corridor study.
Mr. Merrick?
Yeah.
Just, I think Councilmember Monroe brought up a good point.
Did
Do you want to go through this presentation before the public meeting was open, public hearing was open? We should probably open the public hearing.
I'll make a motion to open a public hearing.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. I think that motion carried. I think we're good now.
All right. Thank you, Mayor, Council.
Oh, thank you, Brent.
So one significant project, which was a outgrowth of the strategic planning session the City Council conducted earlier in the year, it was a corridor study along Jonathan Carver Parkway or County Road 11, and I think it's commonplace when you look at studies, or no offense to Dan, but you talk about engineering firms and doing studies, it seems to be sometimes a waste of money. You end up getting a big book, and you have some drawings, etc. But I think in this instance, this is really the poster child for wanting to do a corridor study and an engineering study, and that for many, many years, basically since the inception of the city, downtown has been kind of the center of the community, and it'll still remain the center of the community. But our growth for the next decade and more is going to be up and around and along Jonathan Carver Parkway. And so what the community wants that corridor to look like as it pertains to traffic, land use, signalized intersections or roundabouts, different zoning districts, etc., will all be encapsulated and discussed within this corridor study. So you develop a vision of what you want that to be, instead of a representation of developments that are done in different years, where you could point to and say, well, this was done in the 90s and this was done in the 20s, and so it'll develop over a consistent period with a consistent vision. And so that'd be the goal of this corridor study. There's been a draft that's been circulated between the county and the city, and we'll hopefully have something to present to the council in the upcoming year. The comprehensive plan update. We chose this picture from the Carver Crossing discussion, basically to highlight that a lot of the Carver Crossing debate was centered around comprehensive plan work that was done in the middle part of the last decade. And so to really highlight that upcoming land use decisions that will face the council in the years to come will be defined by our upcoming comprehensive plan process. And so we've dedicated some additional dollars in planning and engineering to work on resident engagement strategies and to build what the vision is for land use and zoning, etc., for the next up to 2040 in that comprehensive plan. We had some focus groups that developed some guiding principles, and Dan Boehm and Cindy Nash are working on a work plan for the City Council to review in January or February. Public services capital equipment. This is something that Brian's gone over with the City Council in work session format. But we have the replacement of the skid loader, addition of a trailer, and a GPS unit. Each of these capital equipment purchases are funded per portion out of the general fund, and then the enterprise funds water, sanitary sewer, and stormwater. Sheriff's Office, we're continuing our town cop model, which is essentially a 40-hour work week. Deputy McCurahan has been really great on adjusting his schedule to come in earlier in the mornings to work in some of our problem areas and staying later on in the afternoons. So it's not what maybe many people think of as a straight 8 to 4:30 or 9 to 5:30. He's been really flexible in adjusting his schedule. We're also continuing the partnership with Laketown Township for shared patrol. So we have 0.65 coverage in evening hours, either a Tuesday through Friday or a Wednesday through Saturday. We also have funding for Steamboat Days law enforcement, and then our membership with the Metro Drug Task Force. Fire Department, contribution of $17,000 to the Capital Equipment Fund. We're planning on bringing to the council a purchase of a command vehicle later on in 2017. That would be paid out of that fund. The existing fund balance for that capital equipment fund is $95,790. That's made up of the $17,000 in contribution that's done on an annual basis, but also made up of donations the fire department receives throughout the year. Also proposing a $100 increase to the Relief Association benefit and a 50-cent increase to the on-call and training pay. big part of the council's and budget discussion was the discussion of a full-time fire chief. In looking at some of the other challenges that the city and the community are going to have moving forward in 2017, this was something that was pulled back. We had a full-time fire chief funded in the fourth quarter of 2017, but looking at some of the expenditures related to village hall or possible community spaces or restoration efforts, the council decided it would be a good idea to leave that money alone, recognizing that there is a need, but looking at the fire chief as something that is needed, but looking at priorities and future, basically financial challenges and priorities, that this was something that could be delayed. Unknown whether or not this would be proposed for 2018, but as we go through the community space process, we'll have a better idea of where the council sits on that.
I like that picture.
Full-time administrative assistant. This one we originally had scheduled for May of 2017. We've moved this up to February 2017 based on some other savings that we've realized since September. We feel like there's a great need to provide kind of some upfront customer service, communication services, data entry, supplies, all the kind of really important stuff, frankly, that you need within our administration department. It'll help us and free up folks to do some other levels of work. 30% is supported by the water and sanitary sewer funds, but the operations and support will be citywide, so city clerk's office, building inspections, planning, so on and so forth. Personnel, we're planning for, I didn't say et cetera there. I've been trying to work on different ones.
And so forth.
One step, etc. Under the collective bargaining agreement, city employees are scheduled to receive a one-step increase, which is approximately 2.75%. There was a provision in there that looked at a cost of living increase, but based on the calculations that we agreed to as far as looking at the Minneapolis Federal Reserve calculator, that indicated no change, so it'll just be the straight step increase. We're not planning on any additional pay scale adjustments in 2017. Some other noteworthy expenditures. Now, these are items that are contained within the budget, but just things that we wanted to point out that are beyond maybe some of the normal supplies and utility costs that you'd see. I'll point out dugout roof replacement at the Black Sox field, the city's annual contribution to the park dedication fund, and then street maintenance that typically goes toward crack filling and seal coating projects throughout the year. So Carver County market values. So this is a big piece earlier when we talked about taxable market value. To keep it simple, essentially the levy that the city adopts is used by looking at taxable market value and creating a tax capacity for the city. So they'll take this market value, and then typically a residential home is taxed at 1%, and so they'll do a calculation to come up with a tax capacity for each home. In this instance, you can see that our market change is relatively flat. In past years, we've had to adjust. Let's say a $300,000 home was valued at that value in 2016, but our values went up by 10%. Well, then we do an additional calculation to show that home being valued at $310,000, because obviously, or not obviously, but in a lot of circumstances, that home would end up paying more in taxes. In this budget year, we're looking at essentially a flat market change, but around $6 million in new construction value, which will help the city's budget. So our proposed levy, based on the expenditures that you see and the debt service, is at $2,169,614, which represents a 3.8% increase over the 2016 levy. So looking at, based on that formula that I discussed, our net tax capacity was right around $3.8 million, which led to a tax rate of 49.46%. That's proposed. It'd be only enacted when the City Council adopts their final levy and budget for 2017. So looking at how we stack up with the communities within Carver County, so this is 300% of taxable market value. So this already includes a calculation for the homestead exclusion. But based on this, you can see Chanhassen is on the low end at $715, Hamburg at $4,366, and based on our existing proposed levy, the city of Carver would be between Victoria and Mare at $1,484. So estimated average value, our taxable market value on average is $271,700, which gets you to a tax capacity of $2,717. So at a 2016 impact, the tax would be $1,331, and our anticipated 2017 impact would be $1,344, which equates to a $13 increase. Something that we tried to represent a little bit differently as a part of our presentation tonight is we took that $1,344 and we divided that into 12 monthly payments, which would be $112. And so we tried to make the connection of that being basically an electric bill or gas bill. And so in this instance, it's a monthly services receipt, and tried to use some different descriptions other than our department titles. So if you think of street repairs and parks maintenance and so on for $26 a month, the loan payment portion at $21, and you can see the balance. It gives you a sense of the services that are being provided and then the monthly cost, which is, and I'm not providing a judgment, but it is similar to a utility bill or what someone might pay for a monthly HOA bill.
It's a wonderful way to do it, by the way.
Then we
See it from other cities, so well done.
Then we also added a taxable market value at $350,000 to just provide a little bit of a different scenario to consider. In this instance, it's a $16 increase for the $350,000 of taxable market value. And then some graphs just showing kind of the history of some of these areas, debt service levy history. From 2013 to 2017, our general levy history in that same time period, and then our total levy history in that same time period. Also added our total tax capacity history. This was something that the City Council requested at the last work session. So our tax capacity is really the driver to determine what our levy and our tax rate ends up being. As an example, when the Mills property comes off the tax increment or comes out of the tax increment district, all of their value will be converted into a tax capacity and then added to this, and essentially their portion will end up making the pie larger and bringing down theoretically the cost for everyone else in the community.
When will that be?
I'd have to.
Approximately.
Early part of next decade. I'd have to look up the exact date. But it's around 2021,
That's
I
what I
think.
kind of thought, okay.
It was I think a 9 or 10 year district. So again, our proposed levy for 2017, 2.169614, or a 3.8% increase over 2016. That concludes the formal part of the presentation. Happy to answer any questions the council or public may have.
Does anyone have any questions or comments?
I have a comment.
Please.
That was a really good presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Of course, we expect it now that you're manager.
I couldn't have done it a month ago, so.
Should be better. Again, thank you and staff for a phenomenal job, department heads. But most of all, Brent, you did a great job, and budgeting under your administration has been not a breeze, but you've allowed us to focus on the issues that we need to focus on, and we thank you for that. I thank you for that.
Does anybody from the public have a comment? It is a public hearing.
Public hearing.
Okay.
All right. Anybody else have anything they'd like to add or ask? We should probably leave the public hearing open for just a couple more minutes, and let's go through the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Do we have any unfinished business? I see no. And number 9, we have new business, which is the 2017 levy and
I don't
budget.
think we can do that until we close the
Until we
public
close
hearing.
the public hearing.
Yeah.
So,
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
there's a motion to close the
I'll
public
second.
hearing. There's a second. So motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Public hearing is closed. Moving on to 9.1.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. In your packet is, under this item is two resolutions. Resolution 151-16 certifies the 2017 levy as presented during the public hearing. And then Resolution 152-16 approves the 2017 budget as included in your packet. Happy to answer any questions that you might have.
I'll make a motion to adopt resolution 151-16, certifying the 2017 levy as presented in the packet.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
And I'd like to make a motion to adopt Resolution 152-16, approving the 2017 budget.
Nice. There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? That was beautiful. There's a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you much. We are moving on to 10.1 in the Carver Bluffs West HOA. Just an FYI from Brent.
Yep. Thank you, Mayor and Council. Packet is a memo prepared by Dan Boyum, the city engineer, and he can answer questions on it. But essentially, the city has received a request from the Carver Bluffs West HOA over our privately maintained lift station. The lift station recently had a failure over the last, I would say, month or two. And so the HOA is working on a way to manage what their future responsibilities may or may not be as it relates to that lift station. What we'd like to do is take this letter and have Dan, and Larry Harris, and Brian Scope work on an analysis and some options for the city council, and then bring it back to you as a potential action item at a meeting in the upcoming year. And Dan and Brian are both here if you have any initial questions or feedback for them.
I'm sure we'll talk about it more in the future, but I just can't see a loss for us, so.
Well, yeah, and I mean, from what I got from the memo, we kind of need to take it over when we can. I mean, wasn't that the whole, what we were supposed to do in the first place, but we never actually got, it didn't develop far enough that they could turn it over to us?
Yeah, I think in general,
Did that not make sense to
Thought we
you?
weren't going to talk about it.
I'm not talking about it. I was just
The-
making the comment.
the
that-
developer, I think when Hans Hagen was developing that and when he proposed the solution that he did, they could have put in individual grinder stations in each home. They chose to put in this lift station, but the thought at the time was when you're doing your northwest area AUAR and southwest area AUAR, that the southwest area might develop sooner, and that hasn't developed. So there isn't the gravity sanitary sewer line along County Road 40 for it to be abandoned at this time. So
Right,
when
but
that
I mean, that's what, I mean, when that development was taking place, the thought was, once that southwest portion developed, that would get turned back to the city.
well, it'd be abandoned, so you wouldn't need that lift
So you
station.
wouldn't need the lift station.
Correct.
So once they don't need it, we're going to take it over, or we're going to take over?
Well, we'll
Oh.
discuss,
Talk
as
about that.
Brent mentioned, some of the different options that that you can consider at an upcoming
Okay.
meeting.
All right. Anything else? All right, we're at 10.2. So, Mr. Henry? Ms. Newhouse? Have a seat, either one of you. Have a seat, either one of you. So we've been doing this a long time, and we are in the process. This next part of this is, I actually wrote down a bunch of stuff for both of you, and I threw it away. I didn't want to do it in a write-down. I want to tell you guys how I feel from my heart. We do a lot of things as a council, and we put a lot of our heart and soul into this. And I don't think we thank each other enough. So we do have these lovely keys to the city. And Newhouse, since you're done now, I can say this out loud. This is the key to my heart as well. You can't really sue me, and Jay's not here. But I want to start with you, Carrie. I really appreciate the years that we've been together. You have been a sounding board for me. You've been my backbone up here on some of the crap that when we go through, we don't always know where to go. And you were always a phone call away, a text away, and your family understood it and went through hell with the Carver crossings and everything else that we did go through. I've got 2 years left on my term, and I'm not sure how I'm going to get through it without you. And I want to thank you very much for 8 of the greatest years that I've been on this council. And then the opportunity to run things by you and be a right-hand person for me is extremely appreciated, and you will be missed. And I wish you would have ran.
Once you get in the
Okay, that's a crazy smile.
Jim's kind of photobombing that. Crunch in.
Wygan, you old bastard. I don't care. Have you ever seen Jim and I in a meeting before? And for the record, one of the greatest meetings that I've ever been a part of was when it was you and I against the world. We've been doing this a long time. I just want to throw just a little bit of history. Jim, I was on the city council. Cindy and I were going through the process of replacing a city council member that had left during the middle of her term. And we had known Jim, and I had made the recommendation that we appoint Jim. And Cindy seconded my motion. There was 2 other individuals on the council that recommended someone else. And are you nervous? Good Lord. And it was an appointment. So essentially, we had Larry Harris as our attorney at the time, and Cindy was the mayor. And it turned out that when there's a tie vote, the mayor breaks with the mayor's vote alone. And so Cindy appointed Jim Wygand. And one of the best moves that I made in my tenure as mayor was a little unexpected, but we had a tie vote as well 2 years ago. And when I became mayor, you filled my seat through an appointment of no less Cindy and I, only with a little reversal. But Jim, you've provided me with a ton of guidance, great leadership. We've disagreed. Sometimes we've screamed. Sometimes we've hugged. We've cried. We've had tough times. You supported me through one of the toughest times of my life. And I don't think that I would be here without you. I certainly wouldn't have as open a mind as I do and a willingness to look at all sides if not just to spite you, to actually learn a lot. You're one of the smartest men I've ever met in my life, one of the crankiest, one of the most stubborn, good Lord, and loudest. But really and truly, this city owes both of you a huge debt of thanks. And I'm giving it to you from my heart, but I hope that the city understands the gifts that we've been given by Jim Wygand and Carrie Newhouse. And Jim, I do want to give you this is actually, I mean, these aren't, I don't think we've ever given out keys to the city before, have we? This is really one of the most important things I've ever done in my long tenure on the council. And I hope you guys take these very seriously because you guys are tremendous. All right, I don't. Thank you for appeasing me with that little unorthodox, but I just monopolized the microphone. Does anybody have anything else they'd like to add?
I want to thank both of you for your service. I have been on a number of city councils, a number, and I truly think this is one of the best I've ever been on, and
Agreed.
a lot of it is due to, I mean, obviously all 5 of us, but you too, and you will be missed. But I expect the incoming council members are up to the task. They better learn quick.
And don't forget to read the packets.
Yeah, don't forget to read the packet. Thank you very much.
Very much.
Jim and Carrie, it's been a pleasure. My 8 years. 6 years.
Seems like 8.
This seems like,
Carrie, I want to start with you. You have a perspective on what's going on that it's just uncanny. And then a lot of questions that I have, you asked before, and I'm like, well, all right. I got my answers. You just have a keen sense about what's going on, and you're very intuitive, and that's a gift. And Jim, I remember your words of wisdom to me before I started the council. We don't always have wars. It's not always that bad. And there is a learning curve to sitting on the council. And through the wisdom of this council and the people that have been on it before me, I've learned a lot. And I want to thank both of you for that.
Well, I have to say, it's really sad to go. It's bittersweet. I'm looking forward to different opportunities. I'm glad to be moving on, but at the same time, I'm really going to miss working with all of you and working with the city. I've really enjoyed my time here. It's been good for me, and hopefully it's been good for the city, too.
It has been.
I would like to say, this is the best council I've worked with. That may not be saying a lot because there were some councils that watched my rear view mirror.
You guys just didn't know when to get off.
But yeah, I mean, like you said, we haven't always agreed, but at least you felt you were dealing with people who put the city first, and that has not always been the case. I appreciate working with all 4 of you. Thanks a lot.
Outstanding. I love you all. Even you, Brian. All right, I think that no further words need to be said. Could I please entertain a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. You guys?
Wait,
Guys?
Ray.
It's your last meeting, remember it. Thank you all.